So yeah, go to work on time. That's the lesson that I'm putting out there on that. Don't be bitter. Business is business. You know what I'm saying? Go to work on time. You'll be all right. Do what you're supposed to do.
What up, world? It's your boy Dave. Dave Has Wings, and we back with another episode of the Living Room Podcast by Hugh House. As you know, Hugh House is a creative studio celebrating artistic and cultural practice, and we're super excited about this episode because we have our first interview. But before we get there, let me pitch it over to my co-host, Elliot McKnight.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Elliot McKnight, partner and creative technologist with Hugh House. Excited to be here.
No doubt, no doubt. The guy I'm about to introduce, long-time homie, and he's got a very interesting story, how starting around, 14, 15, 16 years old, starting something with the homies and taking it to, from there, interning with one of the biggest publications in hip-hop, and then from there, taking it and working for one of the biggest retailers, and from there now, you know what I'm saying, being working with one of the largest cultural voices in the space. So happy to introduce or bring to the living room my boy Hefe Lockhart.
Man, I really appreciate y'all for having me, man. Really looking forward to this.
Yeah, man, you already know, bro. We appreciate you accepting the invite, man. So, Jeff Lockhart, everybody call him Hefe. Before we get it rolling, man, with every guest, we kick off with the same question, which is thinking back, how did your childhood living room shape who you are today?
Man, I think that when you put that question on my mind, I started thinking, like, I think everything came from like that childhood living room, because it was a bunch of like Ebony and Jet magazines, as far as like what my mom was reading. And then you might have like some Source magazines or something off to the corner. That's what my brothers is reading. It was this huge Kenwood. Y'all remember them old Kenwood stereos with like the huge speakers?
Yeah.
And they were loud. You could like start a party with those. It was one of those in the living room too, and it might be a mix of like my mom's music on there, my brother's music. So just a whole bunch of eclectic tastes in that living room. So I think everything comes, like, as far as like who I became, I think it definitely starts in that living room.
And that's fire. So yeah, man, take us back to the beginning, bro. Obviously, I met you as a part of a trio with the Clean Slate back in the day. And take us back to those early days, man. Like I said, those high school days when you were just kind of like figuring things out, man, starting to take what you were interested in and starting to kind of build a platform around it with your homies and starting to see different things. You know what I mean? It may not have started with you for the Clean Slate. That's just my entry point. So take us back as far as you need to take us, bro, but interested in hearing, the beginning of your journey.
So I think that it's a couple different starts to like as far as like me getting into what I'm into now. I think that it starts at like the neighborhood I grew up in, and it also starts in like high school as well. Like a combination of those two definitely are like the driving forces behind like what I do today. As far as like high school, that's where I met my right hand man Jonathan McClain, and my other right hand man Paul Duncan, DJ Pauly Guap. I met both of those guys the first day of ninth grade. And like those are still like my two closest friends till this day. We didn't start the Clean Slate in high school. We actually started it the week we graduated. But throughout those 4 years, like, we were just collecting knowledge and finding ourselves and figuring out our interest and, bumping our heads. I wanted to be a music producer at one time. I'll take you back further than that. Me and Polly wanted to rap. Me and Polly wanted to be a rap group at one point. So, we was just trying to find ourselves and figure out what we wanted to do. I think my man Polly figured it out earlier than anybody. I think like early on in the ninth grade, he started DJing. We gave up the rap dreams quick. We weren't no good, you know what I'm saying? And then my man Jonathan, everybody called him Jay Clean. He was playing basketball, so he was navigating that life. And I think we all eventually just figured out around like junior year, okay, like, you know, we want to do something like, you know, within like a cooler space as far as our career is concerned. So, um, take that in the senior year. My man Jonathan, he started the Clean Slate. Well, it hadn't even started. Like, it was just a concept in his mind. And he was like, he came to me, he was like, man, I'm about to start up a blog. I'm gonna just write about sneakers. And me being his right hand man, I said, hey, you should let me write about music. He said, no question.
Yeah.
So that's how the Clean Slate started. It started in his head, and then I put the bug in his mind. You know, it should be a 1-2 punch as far as music and fashion is concerned. So we started that right before we went off to college. Man, from the start, like, I feel like we had some good traction. I think that we had good traction just because we were all like, we were all pretty like the popular guy. I wouldn't say like the most popular guys in school, or at least I say I was probably popular more so just because like I was I dressed nice and things. I was a cool guy, but I'm a quiet guy still to this day. You feel me? For the most part.
Nah,
Um,
for sure. I consider you a quiet
yeah,
giant in the space. I told you that the other day when I was
yeah,
like, the pod. I was like, my boy a quiet giant, bro. He out here doing
yeah.
the work, but he just real subtle.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
man. I'd rather play the back. I really feel like that's where I make my biggest impact. You know, I'd rather not be shown and just do the work. But
Fact.
yeah, man, we had good traction with the Clean Slate from the time that we started it. And we took that with us to college. And college kind of helped it, you know, helped it grow. Um, and college was another era of like trying to figure ourselves out. And, you know, I don't want to tell too much of the story, just one long win. But yeah, the high school years were the formation. Me and my two best friends just really trying to figure a lot out, really bumping our head as far as like adolescence is concerned, making our mistakes and really molding ourselves to figure out what we wanted to do. High school years were crazy, but yeah, we took it into college.
Yeah, nah, for sure. So, you ended up at you at A&T or UNCG? I know Paul was at UNCG.
I was at A&T. I'm a proud Aggie
That's what
graduate.
that's what I thought. I thought so. I thought you
Yeah.
was at A&T. Um, make sure it's not misconstrued, man. You know they
Yeah.
got y'all up the same colors and in the same city and all that, man. So people
Man,
might get it
yeah,
mixed up.
man. The most important school is, you know what I'm saying, A&T. You know, even my man Paulie say he say he an honorary
Honorary Aggie.
A&T student. Yeah, honorary Aggie.
Nah, I feel that. I feel that. So y'all get the T, and I think one of the things that I always respected about y'all is that, like, I think especially being someone who's like a couple years older, not a lot of young people understand. I'm always preaching about like industry, and then we even talked about a little bit on the last episode, like understanding institutions, understanding industry, and being able to like apply that to your journey. And one of the things that I respected about y'all is that, like, while everybody else might have been getting like more traditional like internships and taking more traditional paths because that's what was fed to them in school and all of that, like y'all boys really made the move, and like y'all was interning in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like going to crazy publications that we all knew, working for different spots. Clean styling for different showrooms, and you know what I'm saying, you was at I don't want to spoil it, but go ahead and give us your talk about your internship experience in New York, where you was at, what you was working on, and what that experience was like.
So, New York was amazing, man. Like in the early years, and I always say like we didn't have a traditional journey, so like I couldn't like. I always told people like, man, the job I'm looking for, it ain't necessarily at the career fair at
Yeah,
school. You feel
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah.
So, um, you know, a lot of my friends in hindsight, looking back, it was amazing. Like a lot of like our counterparts were getting like internships at like these Fortune 500 companies, but that might be through like the help of like school or, you know, something like that. But we was just all off like just trying to figure it out. We were going into a totally different industry. So it was a lot of me like just cold DMing people on Twitter. Like
Uh,
finding out the names of the writers on these articles for these sites and then actually like putting the research behind going to find these people on Twitter and then just asking them questions. And I think, you know, it was an era where like people weren't necessarily doing that yet. So like I stood out, you know, so that's how I got up to New York. And I got up to New York through a Respect magazine internship. I don't know if Respect Magazine is even still around, but I was only there for like a month or two, and Respect Magazine got me to New York, right? So
Uh-huh.
I'm up there. I'm living with my aunt at the time. God bless her soul. R.I.P. Aunt Linda. She gave me an opportunity to come live with her my first summer out of college. So my first summer after freshman year, I had the Respect Magazine situation in a bag. She tells me that yo, you can come live with me for the summer. Keep in mind, this is one of those family members like I think she was like a guardian angel. Like I didn't meet her until maybe like a couple months before I graduated high school. This was always like the well off auntie I heard about that I had in New York and just never it just never met her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I ended up meeting her. I ended up meeting her around the time I graduated high school. You know, she gave me a nice piece of change for graduating high school, and she told me like, you know, if you ever want to come up to New York, come up there. So me and my mom started going up there pretty often, like during my freshman years. While we doing that, I'm kind of, you know, looking at the lay of the land, figuring stuff out, figuring out still doing a clean slate at the time. So that's getting me opportunities to maybe go link with this underground rapper to interview this person while I'm out in New York, or, you know, just keeping me in the mix. Started going out to New York my freshman year of school, and I figured that I wanted to go out there when she put it on the table that I could come up there for the summer. So Respect Magazine got me out there, and then some budget cuts came down or something, and they ain't even need no budget to keep me. I think it was more so like a budget thing as far as like space is concerned. Like they had to minimize the operation, so they had to get rid of me. Man, I remember being like crushed after that. My mom was like, "Hey, well, if you ain't got no purpose up there, like, you need to bring you need to come back home." So I'm crushed. You know what I'm saying? I remember talking to my aunt like, hey, you know, auntie, she about to make me come back home, you know, and I never get my Aunt Linda. She said, hey, look, you know, you can sit around and do all that moping. I'm going to tell you like this right here. She said, either you going to barbecue, you going to mildew. She said, what you going to do?
That's
I
a
That's
said,
some
bar.
good black wisdom for you right there.
that's some
Yeah,
good
that
black
was a
wisdom
bar.
right there. I said, I'm a barbecue. You know, I'm going to figure it out. I ain't going to mildew. So you know, I got back up on my pivot. I think my mom gave me like 2 weeks. She said, you got 2 weeks to figure something out. You got to come back. You know what I'm saying? And keep in mind, I ain't really supporting myself. So, like, I ain't got too much of a say. Like, if I'm staying up here on a free internship, like, my mom helped me, or like my village is helping me. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, my mom has been a single mom. So, like, anything she is helping me out with at that time is important. You know, hindsight looking back as an adult, like, I'm understanding it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, uh, man, found Mass Appeal. How did I come across Mass Appeal? Hitting people on Twitter again. Just getting
That's
on people's nerves on Twitter. I found a guy by the name of Devin Power Bearden. Shout out to him. He was like he was over like the blog of Mass Appeal at the time. And this was a time when Mass Appeal was just coming back. So Mass Appeal was like a niche hip hop and graffiti publication that was pretty big in the 90s and into the early 2000s. And then I think Nas bought it, and well, Nas bought a piece of it, and they relaunched Mass Appeal, the print magazine, as well as like the blog. And Mass Appeal is still around, but it's just print, it's no longer print, it's just content. It's just content. But I found Mass Appeal, and they were just getting things cranked back up. So, you know, I think that not only Nas, I think you know, they had people put money into them, so they had a pretty solid operation. They allowed me to come over there, and they had a nice office over there in Soho, and they shared an office with Decon. It was all really like one company. Decon was like the parent company of Mass Appeal, and it was like a great time there, like a great time. This is like early shout out to my man Brandon Jenkins, uh big on like complex rap, uh, Spotify podcast, things like that. He was there. Man, who else was there? A guy by the name of I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but he's like a triple OG in the journalism game. Sasha. Forgot his name, but Sasha is like super OG. Um he just directed like a Rick James documentary a couple years ago. He directed Fresh Dressed.
Oh,
So I
okay,
get
gotcha.
there. Yeah, Sasha's super OG. Hate that I'm drawing a blank on his last name. But so I get there and then like they're running the show. And a guy named Peter, who's Nas's partner to this day in Mass Appeal. Get there and it's like it's my first like magazine office. So like, I got my idea of what I'm supposed to see, maybe from like movies or shows or something, man. It's almost yeah, it's kind of like that. It's cool. It's eclectic. I don't know if you guys know who like Jason Goldwatch is. He's like a legendary photographer and
Yeah,
director.
Yeah,
for sure.
hell
Man,
yeah.
Goldwatch had like an office. Like you knew when the office started smelling like weed, you knew Goldwatch was in there cooking up and smoking gas. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Goldwatch legend. But it was just eclectic. Even seeing something like that was crazy to me. Like we're in like a corporate building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, we got a whole floor, but like we in a corporate building. This man locked in his office smoking weed. But it was I got to experience a lot there. My first assignment at Mass Appeal, Sasha handed me his calls interview. Transcribe this. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I want to say that calls interview was like 2 hours. It might have took me all 5 days of the work week to transcribe it. And this now that I'm working in journalism and I might do an interview and just send it to somebody and they'll send me the transcription back in like an hour as far as like a machine or like an app that does it now. And I
yeah.
think like, dang, I was taking days to do this back in the day. But
Hey,
my
bro, we
first
getting there,
assignment,
man. That's the difference, bro. They don't know, man.
yeah,
We turning into the
right,
changing. The internet and the
man,
technology is changing everything.
crazy. So yeah, the first thing he gave me was his calls interview and transcribed that, man, and had a beautiful rest of the summer. My mom let me stay obviously because I figured out a situation. And I stayed with Mass Appeal that summer and even came back the following summer. Man, Mass Appeal really treated me great. Gave me a start. Like I said, they let me come back. Even when I went back to school in between those 2 summers, I was contributing articles every now and then. And it wasn't about a dollar amount. I wasn't getting paid nothing. I was just trying to get my reps up. Did a lot of good things there though, for sure. Shout out to
Yeah,
Mass
man.
Appeal.
I remember that era real well and just be looking, you know what I'm saying? This might have been before IG stories and before everything, but just looking at what you would post every once in a while or reading what you was posting on Twitter, like the homies is really out here doing it, getting it done. Like I said, it's something that I always respected about y'all's grind. Talk to me a little bit about how that transition starting to get actually into industry and into working and what happened. What was your mindset coming out of college, having this internship experience under your belt and trying to, get to trying to get to what you were experiencing during the summers and make it your full time, make it a lifestyle.
So it's still it was an interesting period when I graduated. I tell people I kind of had to wait on my like career I had to catch up to my career. Like I think I had to roll with the times because like the job I'm doing now wasn't necessarily a job 10 years ago. You know what I
Facts.
mean? Um so I kind of had to wait on the game to grow. But fresh out of college, well, I'll take it back. During my senior year, um well, not my senior, I guess my extra senior year. My 5th year working, I'm working in I'm working in the social status store. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on up in the office I'm hearing about, the warehouse I'm hearing about, because I really feel like it was two different entities. Nobody was trying to tell me nothing. I ain't gonna throw the GM under the bus who was like over all the stores at that time, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't trying to let me know nothing. I'm like, man, what like, what's going on up there? Like I'm trying to come back home after I graduate. I'm working in the Greensboro store because I go to A&T at the time. So yeah, I'm asking him. I'm like, man, what's up? Like, what's going on up there? He kind of pat me down, like, he trying to use me for his benefit. Man, we could put you in the Charlotte store. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I don't want to go into the store. I want to see what's up with I think the Whittaker group as a concept was still like early, but I seen what was going on. I seen what was going on. I seen it. And maybe he didn't know what was going on. So I'll stall him out now that I'm older. You know what I'm saying? I'll stall him out. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I end up I want to say I think Dave just reached out to me one day. I'm sitting in the store at the time too. And man, it was just all God. Dave was like, "Man, you about to come home? He asked me something up that alley." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to come home." He like, "You trying to do this?" They were letting Shout out to Dave. They were letting Dave build the web team at the time. Like I
Yeah,
said, the Whittaker group was just like it was beginning to become a concept. And shout out to Dave, man. He brought me in and ended
bro.
up at the Whittaker. So
From my perspective, bro, it was one of them situations where, again, like I didn't watch their whole trajectory this entire time, and I knew what we was trying to build. I knew what we needed. You know what I'm saying, on the website, and knowing just their ability to write, and knowing that we needed at that point in time, we were hitting capacity limits around like people writing copy, and the copy needed to get a little bit more, refined in terms of like the product descriptions and stuff like that. And I knew that one, you had the background and knowledge from just being in the culture, but two, you know what I'm saying, I knew you had the skill set as well. So when they was talking about you coming back, I think it might have been going around the office that you was either trying to get into the store or trying to figure out how to get a situation back home. I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna let this talent, you know what I'm saying, the homie who I know is talented, like go into a situation if I can control it, right? If there's a opportunity for us to really do something that's gonna provide value and it's aligned with the skill set, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let the homie, you know what I'm saying, go in any other direction. So it was really on some like, yo, this is what I heard. You know what I'm saying? If this is true, then like I think we need to make this move. And you know what I'm saying? To the credit, you was like, say less. I'm in there. And you showed up and
man,
did your thing, man. So
man,
nah,
I
bro,
appreciate that.
it's they say it's just when the preparation meets the opportunity, for real, for real.
Well, I wanted to quickly like position the context of the conversation because I think that understanding how the both of you guys met and just like seeing that Dave was obviously kind of tapping in from like a social media standpoint. This is kind of like the beginning, early workings of like social networking. So like, I'm wondering from like y'all's point of view, how did that relationship really start and grow? Like, was it at that moment when Hefe was coming into the store and it was like, yo, let's get over on this side from the web standpoint. But like, how did that actually like grow? Was that like kind of the first point, or was it already kind of building up as beforehand that got y'all like into that point where y'all started getting into more formal working relationship?
Think I'll say so I think that me and Dave just knew each other being like creatives from the town as far as like being from Charlotte and being creative. So we had already did a few things with Dave as far as like modeling the I don't was it the first Dave
It
Has
was the
Wings cap?
first
I don't
Dave Has Wings
The
hats, the
first
first
Dave
hats I
Has
ever
Wings
made.
cap. Me and Clean modeled those and it started from there, and we just always stayed tapped in. And I think Dave and Clean might have did a couple things as well. So, we was just tapped in with Dave and so it wasn't even awkward or anything for him to hit me. Like I said, it might have been as laxed as like, yeah, I heard you about to come back home. Like, you trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't even formal. It was cool enough for us to have a simple conversation about me coming over there to work, you know what I'm saying, on the Whittaker team. So
Yeah,
yeah,
bro.
we
I
was already
forgot,
locked
bro.
in
You
before
just
then.
you just opened up a crazy memory because yeah, we was walking around what South End don't look the same no more. Uptown,
It don't.
we literally walked from the Mint all the way down the bridge to South End. I was taking most. I did most of the lookbook on a Polaroid camera.
Mhm.
So it was, I forgot all about that, yo. That's crazy. And then I remember, also like just in terms of like just general working relationship with y'all in general was like Clean was one of the first people I interviewed for my website when I launched DaveHasWings.com, and we did like an interview, a photo shoot. I had like 5 interviews that I debuted my site with. And Clean was one of them. Um, Loney was one of them. My homeboy Dr. King was one of them from he's at VSU now running their whole school that they're building around hip hop culture. He's the building over there. So yeah, it was a lot. It was an early. He was at Johnson C. Smith at the time. So it was early times for a lot of people doing a lot of like people that are crushing it now. Like everybody was just really getting their start and figuring it out. It was the same thing for me. Like I was those hats were a part of releasing my photography book. And I was like, bro, these the homies, they be styling, they be modeling, they be doing whatever be outside. So it's like, let me see if they ever work with me, you know what I'm saying? Type situation. So it's definitely one of those situations where the working synergy was much more on like personal projects. And then because I think it's the important thing of just staying like committed and finding creatives that are committed to the industry. It's a lot of people who we know from that era that were like rapping back then, that was making beats back then, that was taking pictures back then, that was performing back then, doing all these things back then, selling sneakers back then, that are no longer, you know what I'm saying, contributing to the culture in that way, which is fine. You know what I'm saying? Like people evolve and they grow and their interests change, but I think part of it is being tapped in with people who really have that same passion and have that same drive to want to really, make a living with their artistic, like what we call it, Hugh House artistic and cultural practice, like really leaning into that, making that, their whole life. Like I'm gonna work out of this, I'm gonna live out of this, I'm gonna play out of this. It's just who I am and what I'm gonna do. And it was just, the relationship was really based off that more than anything. The jobs and opportunities and stuff that's just it's a side effect of what, what I'm saying, what's just being who we are for real, for real.
That was a hell of a team I was on, like when I first got to the Whittaker too.
Oh, clutch. Yeah, man. I think it's key to understand how you guys met up, especially for anybody listening and understanding the power of relationship, right? Just how things can kind of grow and evolve in an organic fashion, and just how that helps you along your journey, your career, and the power of community. Because it's like, look, bro, we been tapped in. Like we was making hats, we was doing X, Y, and Z, and I think it's important for anybody checking in or tapping in, especially that's kind of like early on in their career. It's like, that I guess like classic line now where there's talk and discussion around, just like network, or not even network, just build relationships with people that's across from you. You know what I'm saying? People that's like within arm's length, and just seeing how that happens and how it's transpired over the years and the benefit of that. And then even just some of the points that Hefe made about like, yeah, bro, I wasn't looking for no cash, in the beginning, when I was getting started, I wasn't looking for this, I wasn't looking for that. Like it was coming from the love, and look what came out of that. And so like, as you guys were talking and discussing, that was just something that I felt like really need to be highlighted, because just off of like the mutual respect between each of you, that led to a better opportunity for both of you guys and made life easier, and was allowing y'all to kind of transverse and evolve through you guys' careers. So it's just beautiful to hear, man. And I think that really just goes to the ethos as well too, of like the basis and the original intent of like Hugh House as a whole. So like that's why just hearing y'all talk, I was like, yo, like, so how did this even start? So I was really happy to hear that side of the story. But yeah,
it started in the foe. As many great things that started in the
yes,
foe.
Sir.
Bye. Hey, yo, Hefe, I know I cut you off for a quick second, man. Before we got started on that, so I know you had a thought real quick.
Oh, I was gonna say I think it's important though. It's important that I share how I got into the social status store, because I didn't get into the social status store until my 5th year of school. I don't know if it was like a gate being kept, but I couldn't get a job at the social status. And I couldn't get a job nowhere because I only had internship experience on my resume. So like the local Harris Teeter wouldn't hire me or nothing. Like I couldn't get a job. So like I'm in college, you had them times in college where you broke, but I was tired of them times. I was 4th year, I'm like, man, I need to figure out how to get some money, This person, everybody getting their money somehow. You know what I'm saying? This person might be doing that. This person might have a job, and I'm just, I'm like, man, I got to figure something out. So I cruise around Greensboro, man, and I try to find a job. I can't. And I say, man, I'm about to leave school. This after my 4th year. I'm like, man, I done did 4 years. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? I can't do this no more. Like mentally, I can't. I ain't getting no money. I can't focus on school, like, So I say, man, I'm dropping out. This is after my 4th year. I'm dropping out. I'm not going back. That's what I said. So I do that, and I had like I had a settlement check from an accident that I got into. So I had like a cool amount of cash, that I had saved up somewhere, if I needed it. So I got that cash and I jumped on a one-way flight and went to LA because my man told me I could come stay on this couch. So I get there and I start talking to people before I go out there on LinkedIn. I'm at this point I ain't on Twitter no more. I'm a little more professional with it. I take it to LinkedIn.
It's growth.
I'm trying to find some career opportunities in LA because I'm done with school mentally. That's what I said. So I find a guy who was the lead designer at Diamond Supply at the time. He was like the lead designer and the creative director. And I just cold DM'd him on LinkedIn. And he hit me back. And
Crazy.
he said, if you want to intern, come to LA. So when I heard that, went to LA. It was only one thing to do. So yeah, I tell everybody in the family, I'm done with school. I ain't doing that no more. I'm going to LA. So I go to LA and I look at the lay of the land when I get to LA. I say, man, everybody out here all chill and lackadaisical. Like, man, I'm from North Carolina. Like, I know how to hustle it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that everybody in the industry so cool in LA and we'll meet at 1 p.m. I'm a dog, you know what I mean? So I got out there and I went to the Diamond Supply office. I was there 5 minutes before the guy told me to be there. A guy by the name of Brett Page. So I get the Diamond Supply and I think I'm about to interview or something. And he tell me to park his car when he pull up. I say, all right. And then he like, yo, come in when you get done with that. So I go in and keep in mind, this is all crazy to me because the whole time
What year is
I'm at
this?
Diamond, this is 2016. This
There
is
you
like,
go.
this is peak. Like, I'm not going to say peak Diamond Supply, but Diamond Supply has kind of went up and it's, it hadn't came down yet. It was still kind of up there, So it was a good time for Diamond Supply. So I go in there and he put me to work as soon as I get in there, as far as like, just trying to, that's when I figured out I didn't really know too much. Like I was designing everything that I designed on Photoshop. He's like, you don't use,
Illustrate?
you don't use Illustrator? I'm like, nah, everything you seen from me, I was on Photoshop. So, he let me rock out. And, I was interning with another guy. And I was never really like the best designer. Like I just knew what looked good. So like the guy next to me might smoke me. He might do 6 designs a day. I might just turn out 2, but they're gonna be 2 good ones. So I'm at Diamond Supply. I'm figuring out. Keep in mind, whole time I'm at Diamond Supply, I'm like, man, I'm a black kid from North Carolina. Like, ain't nobody out here doing this. This is crazy.
Yeah, nah, that's facts,
I'm
bro.
about to like take advantage, So I started venturing outside of the design department, which I don't know if like the guy who I was interning for, I don't think he was a fan of that, but I'm trying to figure it out. I'm a black kid from North Carolina. This ain't in my backyard, so I got to take advantage. So I started going to hang out with all the other staffs, all the other staffs in the building. And like I said, it's a good time. Like, I'm seeing like what clothes can do in front of my face. Like Nicky Diamond's pulling up in the everyday Wraith, or he might pull up at one of his 20 old schools or something, or he might park 5 of them in the warehouse. Like, this is all motivation for me. And just seeing like that was where I first learned like the work chill balance. I've seen like guys who work in the design department go out and skate the ramp for 30 minutes and then come back and then, yeah, I got it. You know what I'm saying? And then they, complete the design. So stuff like that was interesting to see. But yeah, I started going to talk to everybody else. And that started benefiting me in certain ways too. That's how I started figuring out how to get some money at Diamond Supply because I wasn't at the time.
Nah, that's real. So how did it end up connect that to you landing a gig at the store? You said you was done in school, you couldn't get a job, and then you went out there. So how did that land you back in the Greensboro store?
So okay, so I'm gonna continue and say I ended up finagling my way into the Diamond Supply store.
Oh, okay, got
and
you.
get paid. They weren't supposed to let me do that, but I think that like, not to say like I was some charity case black kid that was interning at Diamond, but I might have been like they looked out for me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because they told me like you're not supposed to intern in the office, work in the store. But I was going down to the store and kicking it with them and pestering the manager. So he like, look, you gotta talk to Big Joey back in the office. Keep in mind, I'm already ditching the design department and going to chill with everybody else anyway. So I know Big Joey personally. So he like, hey, go talk to Big Joey. And Big Joey say it's cool. It's cool. So I went to go talk to Big Joey the next day in the office. He said, yeah, like, I don't think we're supposed to let you do that, but let me talk to some people. I think we can figure something out. So yeah, they gave me a job, and I think I was interning at the office Monday, Wednesday, Friday for free. And then those other 4 days was like free game for me to work at the Diamond store.
Gotcha. And that's the joint. It was on Fairfax?
It was on Fairfax. Fairfax, this is like when Fairfax was still jumping.
Yeah.
Man, it was a beautiful time to work on Fairfax. Getting all of like the little perks that came with working on Fairfax. This restaurant giving you free food, or there's a lot of little perks. It was cool to work on Fairfax at that time, man. Good community. I used to leave Diamond and go to the hundreds. This is when my man Five was running the hundreds on Rosewood. So like, Five at the hundreds, like this is another thing that like blew my mind. Like Five had the hundreds like jumping, like like
Yeah.
I ain't never seen nothing like that. Like I might leave out the back of Diamond Supply, and Five might be on the steps of the hundreds with with a champagne bottle. The grill is out. You know what I'm saying? Like he just had the vibe, music. Five might have some Faith Evans blasting out the store, like, you know what I'm saying, like some old 95 Faith Evans or some Jodeci or something. So just seeing stuff like that was amazing, man. It was a good time for Fairfax, but
I can't imagine like catching that in person, bro. Because I used to, the hundreds was my favorite, was my favorite brand growing up, like from that era, from that core era. So like I seen all of that, like just on social media, seeing it on the YouTube videos, all that. And luckily, I got a chance to hit the store on Rosewood before they moved it to the joint up on the corner of Rosewood and Fairfax. You know what I'm saying? Before they obviously closed it a few months ago. So yeah, bro, I felt like I made pilgrimage to Mecca by making it to the store.
That's what it is.
On Rosewood closed. And I never forget, I bought the it was a long sleeve extra large collab, extra large at hundreds long sleeve. Bought that joint. I think that might have been like 2017 when I made it out there. I was about to say finally.
that might have been around the time like I was fresh off coming back to. I remember that extra large collab. Extra large was doing a lot with the hundreds, doing a lot with other people at the time.
For sure,
it was a good time, man. It was a good time out there. But I ended up coming back to school because the whole time the Clean Slate, it's a lot of gaps I'm trying to fill in the story. The Clean Slate eventually becomes like a t-shirt brand because we kind of get tired of writing, me and Clean. So the whole time I'm in California, I'm still kind of communicating with the printers to get like stuff printed and have people going to pick it up, and just trying to keep the Clean Slate operating while I was in California. So I was still communicating with them a little bit. And one day while I was communicating with them, I said, if I came back to school, would y'all hire me? And the owner was a older lady, and she said, yeah. So I said, cool, because all I ever really wanted was some income in Greensboro, man. Give me a job. You know what I'm saying? I can breathe easy, and really focus on school because I ain't worried about trying to get some bread. So I go back to school, and I came back with that job. I had an apartment, you know what I'm saying? I was doing good for myself. Not only did I get one job, I go into social status one day, and I think I knew one of the homies that worked in there at the time, and he was asking me like, how was Diamond and whatnot. And I was telling him, and I think the manager overheard that, and he was like, yo, you just came back from interning at Diamond? And I was like, yeah. And I think long story short, I figured out that they were hiring. And I turned in a resume. He looked at my resume, and by then I had diamond on my resume. So I guess it looked all right. I had some retail experience on there, and I had the brand experience. I think that combined with like the mass appeal, my resume was starting to shape out and look like something. So they put me in social status. That's how I got in there. But social status would not hire me until I came back from California. So not only did I come back to school and get one job, I had two jobs. So I had a beautiful extra senior year. It was
That's
cool.
why you got to follow your gut though, man. I think following your intuition is very key. And even though you went with it, mentality of like, I'm not necessarily. You went with on the mentality of like, yeah, I'm not going back to school. But you really never lost sight of what you really wanted. It was really, I just want income. You know what I'm saying? You could have, if you're not grounded, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who aren't grounded. They would have went out there, seen the lifestyle of California, LA, would have tried to like lean into that, even though that's not who they are. But you was like, actually, I would love to go back to the crib. I'm still doing, you know what I'm saying? The homies are still working over there. We still cooking up. We still got stuff to do. Let me make sure I get back to the real reason why I came out here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So it's a balance of following your intuition, but also being grounded at the same time, which is a beautiful mix. You know what I'm saying? To see from your experience and your story.
And then I don't learn a lot. I haven't learned everything about running a brand, but I've been kicking it with every department in this building. So like
Yeah.
we doing the t-shirt thing at the time. I'm taking so much knowledge back.
Mm-hmm.
So like now we amplified the clean slate when I got back. You know what I mean? From an apparel aspect.
No,
So
absolutely.
everything was clicking that 5th year of school for me.
That's what's up, man. All right, so we're gonna take a few steps forward. You know what I'm saying? You at TWG at that time, you know what I mean? You writing copies, starting to get into social. I don't even know when you transition from web to social because you know what I mean. I had dipped out at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? After probably about a year of you being there, maybe a little
So
less. You know, and I made my break and I was off for 2018 before I came back in 2019.
So you were instrumental. You were still there when I moved over to social, and I'm gonna tell you, this is a testament to the time of just me saying that I had to catch up to the time.
Yeah.
I remember having to like pitch them on why even a social media manager made sense.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because the
And
studio was still posting for real, for real. I forgot about
and
that.
yep, you remember Dave? This is the time I always say this is what really shook the boat when Mikey left and went to hype beast, that shook the boat. And I remember stuff had to change. I think like Brazil went to APB, and that's when Mike started doing social status, and it was just Nate on Man Year at that time. So everything shifted. And when that shift took place, I'm like, let me be the guy that filters the content from all of these photographers. I think that they like why the photographers just can't just can't post their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, just let them do them. I'll write, copy, and filter it, get it out, And I remember having to kind of like and Dave was instrumental in like helping me like make that transition and kind of pitch them on like, yo, this kind of makes sense.
Bro, I'm glad you're bringing that stuff back to my memory because so much happened in that time and we was moving so fast and we were scaling
Uh-huh,
like so for perspective, like I went in there and started myself as a photographer.
uh-huh,
So I was shooting by myself on a white background, and this was like the summer of 2017. And by the winter of 2017, like I was hiring folks, you know what I'm saying? Like, and by the time we got to the summer of the next year, you know what I'm saying? Like I was managing a team that was like 8 to 10 people, you know what I mean? And we had
uh-huh.
opened up a crazy revenue stream on web. Just got approved to do Nike and Jordan online right when I had came. So at the time, even when I started, I was a part-time assistant manager at Lids in the mall, and I came in. I would do half my day at Lids, and then I would do the other half coming in and shooting product. You know what I mean? To go up on the website. And at that point, I was every web function myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I was shooting, editing, posting, writing copy, fulfilling orders, and working with the stores to fulfill orders. You know what I'm saying? Because we didn't have product in the warehouse at the time. So once they kind of saw that I was proficient in doing those things myself, you know what I'm saying? Like things started to pick up and they would start like, yo, what's the bottleneck? I'm like, yo, it's taking me too long to edit to do X, Y, and Z. But now it's taking me too long to write copy. And every time it was like, okay, so hire for that, so hire for that, so hire for that. So by the time we got to the end of that process, we had almost like a 10-person team that was like managing the web function. Yeah, bro, it was a crazy time. So I'm glad you helped me fill in some gaps. It's always interesting what's core memories of other folks that might have been like, bro, I'm just trying to get it done so that we can keep rolling.
So we
You know
can
what I'm
keep
saying? But really,
going.
like a core memory. I might
Nah.
have been having them conversations on some like, this is just what we need right now. And Hefe like, bro,
Yeah,
you
you was
unlocking the door.
fighting. You was fighting, and you was fighting like for us. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that till this day, man. You was fighting, and the team grew. I think when I got there, we was all at one table. Shortly after I got hired, I looked back. It was a full web team at this table behind me. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, because they went
man.
into fulfillment. We started like launching collabs online, so we had to start dealing with fighting bots, and like we had to start packaging orders. Like it was all hands on deck during that time. On the collabs was starting to pop off. I never forget. And not to take us too far off tangent, but I never forget when we got our butts kicked on that first sneakers and stuff. The SNS Social Status Adidas Consortium
Yep,
three-way
the Adidas
collab.
collab. Yeah.
God, bro, there was no bot protection back then. So we had to manually filter the orders. You know what I'm saying? We had to go through and see who ordered multiple. We had to go through and see what addresses didn't make sense. We had to go through, we had to cancel everything. You know what I'm saying? We had a filter that would let us know, yo, this order's probably fraudulent, but it didn't handle duplicates or nothing like that. So even Shopify like super changed their protection since then. Again, that's like 2017, bro. We only talking about like less than 10 years ago. And we was getting our butts handed to us on them collab drops, bro. Like a collab process would take you like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. You know what I'm saying, to get through everything and make sure everything's straight and let the books get balanced and all that. You know what I mean? So one drop day online and you almost a month later before like the dust really settles. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I learned a lot there, man. Man, we were figuring out so much like on the whim there. Like I remember even like having constant conversations with like a web developer. You know what I'm saying? I was getting tight with a web developer, a guy by the name of Sanjay. He was
Yes, bro.
yeah.
That's one of them early relationships, bro. That was one of the things too. Like I was a part of one of the build outs of the website relaunches for all three, for Man Year, APP, and Social Status. When we did the first and made it more content driven, made it more, made the blog space make sense, made lean into all the brands. So I forgot we even handled the web development on that too. We went through a lot of major transitions. Even just connecting the inventory to the website. I never forget connecting the inventory to the website. I got Whittaker group stories for days. I could have a whole pod just stories. You know what I'm saying? Of just like little wins along the way and being a part of like building something, bro. Yeah, I want to make sure we stay focused on why we're here, which is to celebrate you and talk about your artistic and cultural practice, bro. Yeah, take me through. Go. Let's move towards the middle end of your like social status journey, where you landed and kind of what you got going on, kind of leading into more current times, what you got going on now. Give me a little fast track on that situation as best you can.
So I was at the Whittaker until 2019, and like I said, that was just such a beautiful time to be there. Even like and I gotta touch on this because I touched on like seeing the hundreds and what Five was doing there. Another retail vibe that I got to mention, and Elliot, you gonna feel this one. when James and them first bought the studio next to the store, and Nate was running the
Public eye.
studio, and E was at the store. That was just a beautiful vibe too. You know what I mean? A beautiful retail vibe, man. I remember me and Mike getting sit down there to do a couple things with Nate, and me just enjoying that vibe. I could just sit there all day. I could just sit there all day. It was just a beautiful vibe between the store and the studio at the time.
Man, you just touched
I
on a
stayed
core memory.
at the Whittaker until 2019. Bro, that was a good time, Elliot. That was a great time.
I gotta mention this real. I'm gonna be in and out. I'm gonna be in and out on this one. But like, what you talking about? Like, the studio next to the store, like that time when they was all doing that, it was at a time where I was trying to figure out how to get out of the retail game. Like I was like, yo, how do I make this pivot? And it was like, oh, this is it. Like, oh, okay, this is how you connect what we doing into the store, because that was the first time I had been working in retail pretty much my whole career. So this was like the first time where you were seeing how to like extend product beyond just being in the store. So you were having like the activations, you would have like, the photo shoots, collabs and things like that, and leveraging the space. Bro, when I tell you like that joint was clicking, bro, it was crazy. Similar to what you were saying, like just those little perks, just being in the neighborhood and being around and just seeing what was going on, like that kind of opened up my eyes to what was possible when it came to product and like how far it could extend into like lifestyle and the creative and arts and design. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. And it was just close up. It was 10 feet away at that point. You know what I mean? As opposed to seeing it on your phone, it was like, nah, bro, this is right next door. So that was like a lot of that. That's how me and Nate really got cool for real, because he would be similar to what Dave was talking about, like doing 10 different things. Nate would be in the same position. And, sometimes he'd be stressed, bro. He'd be stressed out. And I'd be like, yo, bro, you need some help. And that's how like our relationship forged and whatnot, because it was just like, yo, bro, I got you. I would leave the store, lock up, and like help him set up for some collab for the next day, because he had to shoot. Not only he had to shoot, but he had to do like he was doing like event setup, like event production and spatial design and stuff like that. So it was like a whole situation, man. I just had to touch on that real quick. But Hefe, hey, bro, that was a crazy time, bro. Like 2018, 2019.
It was an era.
Crazy.
An era. I'm trying to tell you, man, an era.
Hey, what we say, Dave? Summer 2019, bro?
Around summer 2019.
Summer 2019. Change the game.
Yes, sir.
Change the game. Maybe we'll elaborate on that later.
Facts.
So I left there in 2019. I gotta be transparent about how I left the Whittaker. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm older now, and I understand a lot. In the scene in Friday After Next where Pinky come to the party, and then they be like, Pinky, why you fire me? He said, cause you was always late. So I just seen Kev the other day. I had a moment like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, I thought that was so funny to me. But I got fired from the Whittaker because I was always coming in late. So yeah, go to work on time. That's the lesson that I'm putting out there on that. Don't be bitter. Business is business. You know what I'm saying? Go to work on time. You'll be all right. Do what you're supposed to do. So yeah, I got fired around right at the top of summer 2019. And I was like, dang, what am I about to do? At the time, the Clean Slate as a brand is still like doing this thing. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, just about to go all in on that. And I was the graphic designer for like the Clean Slate. So I was designing everything. So I was like, the turn up is really up to me. So we just really turned that up. And man, that really held me at the time. I think when I got fired, man, I want to say my man Clean had just got fired from his job. So he was like back at his mom's house at the time trying to figure stuff out. Polly might have got fired around the same time. I was like, we all got fired because at a point, like, it was like, all right, what we about to do? We just about to do this. So
run the brand.
Yeah, we really turned that up. And man, it's crazy when y'all said summer 2019. Like me and my homies we can say summer 2019 to one another as well, and it's gonna evoke certain just memories. Cause
so, bro, in that lean in there a little bit. I want to double click on that. So like what teas are dropping during that time? Like refresh my memory on like what those designs were. Was that the chains joints? Was that when the chains teas started? Like what else is in that era?
I remember so when I got the day that I got fired, we had just got a batch of the Basquiat teas where we did like the hood rest in peace tee flip with Basquiat on it. So that we had like a batch of those, and we were supposed to like shoot them and drop them, but I don't know. All we had to do at that time was kind of like put it out on social media. Was Instagram story a thing? I think Instagram story had became a thing by then. So like we might just put it on Instagram story like, yo, we got teas. And we might have had like 50 Basquiat tees. This was supposed to be what we were supposed to drop with, right? So we were supposed to shoot a lookbook and then drop these 50. I got fired. I say, look, let's sell all 50 of these right now. And, and then go get some more to drop. So we all put it on our Instagram story, and we all hopped in Paul's Chrysler 300. It was burgundy. And man, we did numbers out of Paul's Chrysler 300, the burgundy one. I always tell Paul, man, I wish we could locate that car because they need to put that car in a museum, man. We ran it up out of Paul's Chrysler 300. The day after I got fired and we sold them Basquiat tees, we might have made like, I want to say probably around like two grand. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, this is what we about to do. So around that time, I'm motivated. So like around that time, I'm just like looking for stuff. This is around the time where like streetwear flips is cool. So like I'm just like putting cool stuff on t-shirts, like still in Photoshop, still not really in Illustrator, just finessing stuff and putting stuff on the tee that look good. So I came up with the Hood Rich Boys Club.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God. And that had, man, that we dropped that at the top of the summer, and that like that did a lot for us. And
It
I
was a
want to
BBC
say,
flip for context for the listener.
yeah,
It was the Billionaire Boys Club, but he flipped to Hood Rich Boys Club. And
yeah,
yeah, I feel like y'all ran like 3 or 4 colors of that joint.
we did. We was
Yeah,
milking it until we couldn't milk it no more. We did the t-shirts first, then we did like hoodies, then we did different color hoodies, and then we did different color t-shirts. So we was just like milking it, but it was working. And like people were eating it up. So did that, man. And in the midst of this time, this is 2019. So I think around the end of 2019, my man Clean, he go to Nike. So it's just me and Polly. And I want to say 2019. And he go to Portland. And then boom, 2020 hit. And then boom, it's COVID. Me and Paul still in the Chrysler 300 because people still wanted clothes. And you got to think, people was getting money in COVID, whether that be, people's out there on their janky PPP or, whether they was just getting the checks that people was getting for the 1,500,
the stimulus, yeah.
the stimulus joints. So like people was wanting like clothing. So like me and Paul, we would link up at the top of the day and we would just like get to it. And that was working for us. And then yeah, man, I think COVID hit. And like I said, it was cool. I started to do a lot of reading during COVID. That's when I really picked up my reading bug. I started reading a ton of books. And I also started writing my book in COVID as well, which I'm still writing to this day. But yeah, COVID hit. And that was cool. It was a lot of money circulating, so we were still doing the clothing. And then in 2021, that's when my man Mike called me. And he called me. He was like, "Yo, I got something for you at Highs Nobody." And I went to Highs Nobody.
No doubt. And bro, the crazy part is like I'm just sitting here thinking about everything on the in between and stuff that's happened because we're in 2025 now. So I'm also thinking about like, you know what I mean, the Nigel Sylvester projects. I'm thinking about like the direction and working with Pete Frank. Like I'm thinking about all these different things that's like happening on the in between while you still on this like trajectory of getting to where you at now. So it's like it's a lot of stuff that's happening in between there just with like TCS dropping and going crazy. Y'all kind of pivoting a little bit to more of like an agency model a little bit and starting to work on more than just clothes, starting to shoot music videos, directing things, throwing events. Way back, we skipped over like Clean Slate Fest. You know what I'm saying? There's like a lot. We don't have enough time to really touch on everything that y'all have really done in the city for real. But I definitely want to make sure we got some of that on wax because like y'all really touched on a lot of things to kind of help, solidify and push a culture forward in the city and in the state.
Can I go back? Because I drew a blank, and I'm glad you helped me open up my mind a little bit. I drew a blank when I started talking about COVID, but around that time as well is when I'm like, yo, Paulie, let's start a podcast. Because if you know my man Paulie, like, he's just a TV show, period. Like, just go hang around him. You're gonna be laughing, period. So I'm hanging with him all day, every day. We just riding around selling t-shirts and hoodies out his truck, and he's just having me dying all day. So I'm like, Paulie, man, let's take a little piece of this money, man, and go buy some podcast equipment, man, because you need to be on somebody's podcast. I said I can compliment you. Let's do it. And he was like, all right. So we got some podcast equipment and we started doing that. And I had, not only did Paul deserve to be on camera, I also had like everything I do, I think I got like ulterior motives. So I wanted to start the podcast as a way to like meet more people, just hop into the mix. So so we started the podcast and I think we are probably like 10 episodes in, maybe not that much. And we meet a local rapper. And I'm not saying local in terms of disrespect because I think that he's one of the coldest out the city. And I actually believe that he is close to seeing his day. But we meet a rapper from Charlotte. I think that's better said. We meet a rapper from Charlotte by the name of Fetty P. Franklin. And he's just super charismatic, but he also remind me, the reason why I like this guy is because I seen his videos and he just reminded me of like all like, so in the neighborhood I grew up in, it was like a bunch of characters from like my brothers to like they homies. And, you know, Frank just reminded me of one of them. He reminded me of somebody that I grew up looking at outside my front door or something. You know what I'm saying? And if you know what a real core Charlotte street guy is, like they ain't flashy, you know. I be joking now. My man wear a chain and everything. And he wears jewelry, but you know, a real core Charlotte street guy ain't got no jewelry on, you know, and they know how to hustle it out and get to it. So when I seen his videos, I seen that. And I said, man, we need to go find this guy, Polly. So found him. Somebody gave me his number or something. I want to say I reached out to him on Instagram and he gave me his number. So I called him. I'm like, bro, I'm trying to interview you. And he like, all right. So he pulled up, me and Polly interview him. During the interview, he telling us funny stories. I say, bro, you need to let us do a documentary on you in the interview. I tell him that. So we finished the interview. After that, my man Gardy, who's my cameraman, and one of my close friends as well, I'm telling him like, bro, we need to do something with this guy. Like, I really believe in this guy. We need to do that documentary. So from that moment, we started really following him around for the next few years and shooting his documentary. And that kind of turned into us like being like his whole live agency. Like, you know, whatever needed to be done, like even so at some points to this day, I would still like consider like Paulie doing like management type things for him. You know what I'm saying? So doing management videos, creative direction, photography, whatever he needed done, we felt like we found the person who had the right product as far as the music, because that's something me and Paulie always wanted to get into, and we still want to we still have music industry dreams. Yeah, man, we met him and he just let us use him as a canvas, man. And he's
Yeah,
an intro.
that Pusher Man video is still one of my favorites. I just go watch it every once in a while with him and
Yeah,
Trap Dicky. I
man.
just go watch it every once in a while just because.
Shout out my man Paulie. My man Paulie directed that one by himself. It was usually a 3-man trio between me, Paulie, and my man Gardy. My man Paulie directed that one by himself and swung it out the park. But man,
Yeah,
love Frank, man. Got so much love for him. I feel like I say, and like it's a brotherly relationship. Like he feel like one of my big cousins, or he feel like my big brother. You know what I mean? Like love, man. Like I say, I really want him to see his day. But doing his documentary, like I've done a lot as far as like published designs for Diamond and, you know, being a part of this, that, or the third for Snobiety or at the Whittaker. But I honestly say, I think that doing his documentary was probably like, that's probably like some of my proudest work. You know, and it was also like, you know, I can say I'm a director.
but definitely, nah, that's what's up, man. So yeah, talk a little bit about what you got going on at High Snob, and yeah, what's the vibes there, and what's your role and what you've been working on.
So I'm a social media manager at Snobiety. On any given day, you know, I might be the words that you're reading on one of those Instagram posts. Have been there for 4 years. It's been a great 4 years. I think that Nobody just has been exposing me to a different element of the industry. I've kind of also like grown up in Highs Nobody as well. Um, so it's just been interesting, man. A lot of learning, a lot of things I'll never like get used to or take for granted. Like just being able to get like like free stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's still crazy to me. Like shoes and all that. That's crazy. Like people want to send us the shoes first for our opinion. I think that stuff like that is always cool to me, man. And I always tell like people like, I love like getting those free sneakers. Like, I don't know, it just mean a little more to me. Cause like I know like do you know like my big brothers had to do like wild stuff to get sneakers sometimes. So like, you know what I mean? Like I'm grateful for everything that come to my door, any company that asks me for my opinion on something. Went out to Timberland headquarters as a part of Highs Nobody. That was great. Like met a lot of great people out there. So just being able to go out there and tell these designers like what Timberland is from my perspective, or going out to LA and talking to K Swiss and telling them like, yeah, I remember I wear my K Swiss, like, you know what I'm saying? I was doing numbers in the household, like, maybe honestly telling them, maybe not the shoes was doing household doing numbers in the household, but I remember the campaign, you know what I'm saying? Uh, you know, I've talked to Adidas and offered my opinion to them. Man, it's just a lot of dope things that I'm exposed to at Highs Nobody. So it's just cool. I don't know. I think I have a lot more to say after my stint at Highs Nobody, just because I'm still in it. Like, so I'm still in that daily grind every day. But like, man, Highs Nobody, the culture at the company is amazing. And, just like, I think that Highs Nobody, I ain't gonna throw nobody under the bus. But Highs Nobody has definitely showed me what great company culture is. Like,
Uh,
I haven't met like anyone that comes off as like a a-hole or anything for that matter. Like everybody's just so nice and bubbly, you know what I'm saying? So, I really enjoy that, and just you know, man, I really do. So, shout out to Highs Nobody, man. They've been treating me right, man. Shout out to Mike for bringing me in. I'm forever grateful to him for bringing me in. And like I said, I don't meet Mike if Dave don't bring me into the Whittaker. So yeah, man, Highs
yes.
Nobody has definitely showed me what that good company culture look like, man. It's just been a beautiful experience rocking with them, man. Everything always pretty cool with them, man. So I ain't got too much complaining to do about Highs Nobody, man. Shout out to them people, man.
Nah, that's dope,
I
man.
love
That's
it. I love everybody at Highs Nobody.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm gonna kind of get us to land the plane a little bit. So with that being said, like we have an event called Workflow where we do portfolio reviews live quarterly with people that are in the Hugh House community. It's a free event. We bring different homies that work in the industry, work in different industries and different mediums, and have them be panelists, and we do some portfolio reviews. That being said, if you could give somebody like a workflow tip, you know what I'm saying, as somebody who wants to be a social media manager and wants to work in culture, or you know what I mean, if there's something that you could sum up from that journey, you know what I'm saying, what would it be? You know, now that the resume is fully shaped out and got some weight to it, you know what I mean? Like what's one little tip that you could give, one little tip that you could give from that perspective?
My biggest piece of advice would be uh you gotta read between the lines. You got to read between the lines. So like, and when I give some examples of like me just doing something as simple as knowing like, okay, if this person, everybody email is their first name at saidcompany.com. Let me just cold email this to see if it's an email that works. And like most of the time that works. Like you go on LinkedIn and dig, like you gotta do the research. You know what I'm saying? Whether that be to find this person, that person in position, just do the research and, read between those lines. I think that's the biggest piece of advice. Like everything that I've done, like it was just through like reading between the lines and really asking myself, does this make sense? Or, putting together this relationship or that relationship. Like I talk to my man Clean about it all the time. Me and him have like a very finicky mind when it comes to like just like putting stuff together on Instagram. And maybe like that's like a part of our journalistic background, but like you just gotta know how to read between those lines to figure out like those things that are not necessarily right there popping out on that paper for you. And that's usually where the keys are at, for sure.
That's real. That's fire. Last question is well, not necessarily the last question because we'll offer you, space to say anything, but that you want to do to close out. But the last kind of little segment here is our Bunko segment. So Bunko is another one of our quarterly events. It's a creative book exchange where we focus on coffee table books, art materials, magazines, just visual inspiration. We get up once a quarter and trade, have people buy, sell, and trade that within our community as well. So if you could give a Bunko book recommendation, what would it be? You know what I mean? What's your or just what's your favorite, coffee table book or any visual inspiration that you got around the crib?
Um, this is a good one. So I'm constantly reading. I think I'm on like 8 books this year. I'm on my 8th book this year. Uh, so what would I give as the recommendation? Does it have to be like a inspo book or like it could be any
Nah,
book?
nah, it can be any book. You can give any book. It's cool.
Okay. One of the better books on entrepreneurship that I have ever read was Built from Scratch by Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus. And those were the two guys. Arthur Blank owns the Atlanta Falcons, but both Arthur Blank, and Bernie Marcus started Home Depot. And that book is really diving into them, starting Home Depot and really turning that into what it turned into. And like I said, tools aside, that's one of the greatest entrepreneurship books that I've ever read. And I've read a lot of books, all different genres, but that's one that pops out now. And just one more that I gotta put out there as well that comes to mind. Um A Knock at Midnight by Brittany K. Barnett.
What's
And
that?
she's a renowned Black lawyer. Like I call her Superwoman for sure. Shout out to Brittany K. Barnett, like legend. She is a advocate for bringing a lot of people home that got unfair sentences during like the unjust laws that were set by like Joe Biden and things of that nature back in the 90s. So she's righting a lot of those wrongs and bringing a lot of those people home. A lot of those people. So her book, A Knock at Midnight, was about not only her life story, but she also kind of intertwined the stories of the first few people who she helped free from unjust sentences. Beautiful book, man. And like I said, I call her Superwoman, man. Like she's a super dope Black lawyer. I actually think that, and she's not even too loud about this, but like she was having so much success that they eventually called her in to help Big Meech come home. But
Got
yeah,
you.
Brittany's super dope. Have exchanges with her over Instagram from time to time. That's one of the best books I've ever read as well. And that has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. That's just a great story.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's fire. Appreciate you, bro. Closing out. Anything you want to, leave on wax for the people as we wrap this up, man. It's been a dope conversation.
Man, I just appreciate y'all. I think like Dave said, I think I'm gonna get off here and I'm gonna be driving home down West Boulevard and I'm gonna be like, man, it's so much other stuff we could have talked
Bro.
about.
Yeah.
I feel like, man, we could be on here for hours, man. So I just appreciate y'all letting me get the platform to say what I have said, because a lot of this stuff that I have said, I've never said it nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, man. That's what
appreciate
we
y'all, man.
recognizing too, man. We got a lot of homies. That's what this whole thing's about. Is like we got a lot of homies that are doing dope things that are like to our conversation earlier, people behind the scenes, people that are kind of making things move forward. So this is just our opportunity to put that in front of our community and use those stories as inspiration and leverage hopefully for folks to be able to push themselves forward, because we all are got journeys and not everybody got a million social media followers. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, we in the day-to-day grind, just working. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys is a small, nimble team that's just out here, trying to work on creative projects, trying to make dope stuff happen. But it all comes from, again, just those relationships, how me and Elliot even got to this point where we business partners now, you know what I'm saying? It just comes from those early relationships. So it's important to hear all of those stories and catch those pieces, man. Maybe one day we'll get to the point where we can pull the 3-4 hour Joe Budden slash
Yeah,
Nori
yeah,
Drink Champs
yeah.
interviews where we can really get, what I'm saying, go deep with folks. But for now, man, we trying to keep it short on the hour and some change format, man. And there's plenty of gems in there, bro. Just based off of the limited parts of your story and limited parts of the connections that we all got, bro. So just appreciate you being open and sharing. Elliot, you got anything for the folks as we close them out?
Yeah, man, I'm just gonna say, hey, bro, FA, I appreciate you pulling up, bro. Like, your story is crazy. Like, I was even learning stuff I never known about you just as you was talking and explaining and everything. So, just hearing it from your perspective and how you was able to, like, yeah, just really just grow and move through and just like go from North Carolina, bounce out west, you know what I'm saying, go up north, go to New York. Bro, your story is crazy, man. You should be proud, like where you ended up. And I know this is not the end. You know, you're gonna keep going. So like for you to be as young as you are and like tapped in as you are, it's like, bro, it's good to see, bro. So I'm glad that we had this conversation, especially with us, really starting and kicking this off, bro. Like I couldn't imagine a better situation, a better way to kick this off, man. So I'm excited to get this out there, bro.
Appreciate y'all, man. Last thing I'll say, man, is just shout out to Charlotte, man. Like the city know how I feel about it, man. Like I can't, I don't even want to leave. I probably need to for the sake of my career, but I don't even want to leave, man. Like shout out to the city, shout out to Charlotte, man. That's the last thing I want to say.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, look, this has been an episode of the Living Room Podcast. I'm your boy Dave. Dave has wings, partner at Hugh House, focusing on strategy and operations. It's my boy Elliot McKnight. We just had a great interview with Hefe Lockhart. We'll catch y'all on the next one. And follow us everywhere at It's Hugh House. That's at ITSHUEHOUSE. And join the mailing list. We got events popping off on a quarterly perspective. So whenever you see this, there's probably an event happening. Just tap in with us. And we'll see y'all over there, man. Y'all be good. Peace.
Peace.